My name's Cole Cooper, here at my home, sitting at the desk that me and my wife, Brittany Annette Cooper, used to work at. I was a criminal defense attorney, worked on a number of cases for about 10 years, did a lot of constitutional law cases, and I worked on cases that a lot of people don't know about, and I did a lot of investigating, a lot of things behind the scenes for people that I believe to be innocent and who the evidence showed that they were innocent. I am going to start a series called Cole's Truth, and carefully select different parts of the story of me and my wife Brittany. Brittany was murdered, and her remains are still on my desk. It's a long story of why they're on my desk, and during the course of these videos I'll share with you what happened and why we're in the situation we are right now. That being said, I miss her. She died in the cause of our effort trying to give a voice to people that didn't have one here in the criminal justice center system. Brittany was an exceptional paralegal. She had a really, really difficult childhood. She had a father who was abusive and was a pedophile, and he would hurt her in very bad ways, very cruel in a number of other ways. In some ways he did do some good things, but you know, it's hard to come back from something like that. It leaves a scar on a young girl that I don't know that there is recovery from, and I saw the effects of that being married to her. It was my honor to be married to Brittany. She's my best friend and the most capable paralegal I ever saw. She had wanted to apply to be the Utah Paralegal of the Year. They wouldn't let her into the state association because of a felony that she had on her record. She had saved she had saved a friend of hers life back in Vegas when she was 17, and who was overdosing, and back before the Good Shepherd laws would preclude a criminal charge. That happened. That being said, she carried around this felony on her record, and she had a car accident after her brother Brody was murdered. There was a $25,000 marijuana deal, and her father, who had a lot of money, spent time in prison for fraud of some sort, the stock market, wouldn't help him with the debt and ended up dead. And they never really said it was murder, but it was murder. And Brittany was just devastated. That was her best friend Brody. Most of her life she was searching for him and trying to solve the case. In fact, she finished her forensic science degree with me. And I found Brittany in my middle age. I had some messy divorce, really messy divorce, and you know, I'm not saying I was the best husband in the world, but I certainly wasn't a criminal. I was a new lawyer, and my wife was foreign. She was from the Philippines, and you know, it was a rocky marriage, and she apparently was cheating on me, and you know, kept accusing me of it, and I cheated on her eventually. And she was the paralegal in the beginning, didn't come with instructions, but my father was dying, and so I came back from Texas, where I went to law school, and I was applying to work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a special agent, and I was about to age out. I was a little older, and the job that was available was criminal defense, so I took that job, and I took a case that I didn't realize was one of Utah's biggest cases. I'm going to just not talk about the case right now because it's extensive, but I didn't know what kind of attention that would give me, but I knew that as I looked further into it, these people were innocent. And as I worked on this case, mostly pro bono for the course of 4 years, during this time I met Brittany. There were officials acting under color of state. I know that the system's getting better, but at the time I just couldn't believe that people were committing crimes and then saying that they had qualified immunity. But they got involved with my divorce, and my children were taken. At one point, I had a man tell me that if I would, and this was after I found Brittany in jail, after her family had sold her into a human trafficking situation, which I'll get into in another day. Her sisters admitted that. I've got that evidence too. I won't talk about that today either, but her and we're doing a really good job. We can't please all the clients, but it becomes very difficult when all we've ever wanted to do is tell the truth. All that I've ever been trying to do is trying to ask that people's constitutional rights be honored, that the prosecutors provide all the discovery. Under Brady v. Maryland, I thought that was a given, but it hasn't been, and it needs to be. And the real power with the Constitution has always been with the people, that the people need to know what's going on. And I am not a proponent of tearing down our system or our government or saying that everything's wrong, because there's a lot of good and efficient things in the judicial system, and I'm one that's tried to work as a friend of the government and help making it better by rooting out the corruptive influences with the least disturbance of the system in place. You'll have to forgive my speech. Me and Brittany have been through a lot over the last 10 years, and I lost most of my teeth. And no, this wasn't from drugs. It was mainly because when I was younger, we didn't get very good dental care. And I remember with some of the first money we got, she, after I got her out of jail, and I'll talk about that, how she was in there, what they were doing to her there. She made sure that I had my teeth done. That's how she was. She really just cared about everybody else. She always put everybody else above her. And rather than to be with her father and be under his control, she ran away at age 17 and started to dance. And she became an adult dancer. And she did that on a broken hip. She died in a car accident. And just an amazing woman. She just captivated a room. But when I first met her at the jail, she was there on a material witness warrant. And it's just a bizarre situation that I'm not going to go into the details of here of why she was there, but she was innocent. And I just fell in love with her the minute I met her. I used to walk miles a day after I left my hometown. Different sorts of rumors started to be spread, and I'm not going into details of that either, although I do have all the evidence there. And I am really tired of being punished for doing the right thing. Equal protection should mean that as an officer of the court, we're all treated with the same respect as per the professional rules of conduct. I found out that because we kept pushing on this case, eventually I somehow would get arrested for the most bizarre things. I got arrested for actually a client who said I didn't help him. Now the client had filed probably 40 cases, and he asked me to review them all and see if I could find a way around them, and I couldn't after all of it. And I did my best, and I was a new attorney, and I found an opinion written by Judge Royal Hanson, who passed away, that said that this man that was my client had stolen $200,000 worth of water in a civil case from Robert Redford. And the same guy that had accused me of not doing any work, which they charged me with felonies for, saying that I had exploited a vulnerable adult. And that case is still ongoing, but I think that a good idea would probably to make that case go away pretty soon, because I have some recordings and some other evidence that I've held on to in hopes that I wouldn't have to show them. I just really we had the threat of my license being suspended over a $1,200 divorce case I took when I was a brand new attorney, where a woman claimed that the $1,200. I still have not quite figured out what her gripe was. She got divorced. I charged her $1,200. She demanded that I help her. I stayed up all day and night. I was a new lawyer. I mean, it mostly was just me not knowing what to do, because when I got involved in this other case, this innocence case that I took on, people kind of got involved with my life and in my divorce. And, it may sound pretty out there, but I can prove every point of it. I have all the evidence. I have meticulously gathered all the evidence. And when Brittany got out of jail, She was innocent, and got away from this human trafficking contract her family had sold her into to try and steal her inheritance, really. And that's where I found her. I don't think they anticipated that she would meet me and that we'd love each other that much, and we really did fall in love. And oh boy, was she a good lawyer. She was a good paralegal. She was actually studying to be a paralegal before I met her. And, you know, people used to tell her she was beautiful all the time. No, she is beautiful, but when I told her one day when she was home, I said, you know, you're the best little housewife ever. She just started to weep, and that meant more to her than anything. We were together about 7 years, and I guess, you know, I didn't apologize. I was unapologetic for telling the truth, and I did take this other case as a test case, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court about fitness, about a judge that if you're condoning behavior that amounts to criminal conduct or crimes committed under color of state, that those are violations of Section 241 and 242 of the U.S. Code, among other things, and that someone is unfit to be a judge. And it's just too long of a story to go into now, but Brittany and I worked on that, and then we, you know, and that really garnered a lot of, how could you call it, retaliation for being a whistleblower. And I was told to quit embarrassing the profession. Anytime a client would be dissatisfied with anything I did, all they'd have to do is run to the bar, and I'd lodge a complaint, and we would answer the complaints, and we were really doing really well with our clients. But some of our clients had told us, and I have evidence of this too, certain clients that I could release if I wanted to or needed to. It becomes necessary, where state officials would promise to go easier on their criminal sentences if they could get some information from me. So they'd go over to our houses as if they were spies to try and, I don't know, what set us up, I don't know. Anyway, you could detect the deception, and it just, you know, it came to a point where it's almost like you had to find a way to defend yourself from your client. But Brittany and I were helping a lot of people, and we used to have them over, and they threatened to suspend my license for something that happened 10 years ago, and we had indirectly exposed some corruptive influence in the judicial system, in my own case and in Brittany's case, and there were some judges that stepped down from the federal bench, as well as from the state, and I do know how to effectuate that, and it's not the method that, it's all legal, but it's not the method that's usually prescribed, but there is an easy way to do that. But it does come with a price. And Brittany had asked me not to continue to hunt for corrupt influences, and I had considered that I was more like a special legal consultant, that I could go into an institution or an organization or an agency, and I don't know of anyone better that I can find corruption in any of those organizations, and I can dismantle it. And so that's what clients have been wanting me to do now, and I won't or can't do anything that violates the rules of professional conduct, but I haven't done anything worthy of having my license suspended. But Brittany was worried with that threat this summer that we weren't going to be able to make enough money to keep our apartment, and that we were going to be separated, and we just loved each other so much, and we played on her biggest fear. And she and I had an argument, and she went to New Jersey, and this man that she dated before she met me, she worked in New York, she worked in LA and New York, he wanted to marry her. I guess he wanted a trophy wife. He ended up killing her later. He was partly responsible, but he also is a computer expert, and he was manipulating the emails, it appears, the evidence indicates, and as if I were saying inflammatory things to her to try and make us look like we were fighting and people were getting involved, and she'd been given some medication, not enough to kill her, but enough to make so she couldn't make a good decision, and she smothered, it appears, and murdered when she wanted to come home. And so nothing was done yet with her murder, and it wasn't an accident. And I have full confidence that the authorities will do the right thing. They are investigating. I know some directly that are. And I also want to thank the special forces teams that have been looking out for me. My brothers that have protected me. My life's been threatened, and when they killed Brittany, I didn't know what we did mattered. I just thought no one would believe us, you know. And if we said anything, you know, they just hit you with another violation or sanction. And Brittany said, let's just conform and try and do a good job. And, you know, we still will always ask for all the evidence. But, you know, I can't fake a job. If I'm going to go to court, I want all the fucking evidence, okay? Not half of it. None of this tic-tac-toe bullshit. Seriously. When you go into court and you're scratching off 2 misdemeanors and 1 felony, and I'm sorry, but these are people's lives. And so I get a little bit passionate about the way I defend people. And then when you ask the facts, they don't know. Well, you mean I want all the reports? I don't want I don't want a redacted one. You know, God help us, we asked for all of them. But you know, there were some things that were happening that Brittany got pretty vocal about, and I guess they figured that would just shut me down, that I would just be demoralized without her, and that I wouldn't continue. I'm emboldened, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Right now, I have a suspended license, but you know, I tried to go to the hearing that we were supposed to have, and you know, I don't even want to go there right now, but let's just say I'd be eligible for an active license. But as a special legal consultant, I can do a number of things, but I wanted to probably just share these experiences, number one, just to bring awareness to people, because the Constitution gives the power to the people, and people need to know people need to demand that their constitutional rights are honored. I have forgiven the man that killed Brittany. I can't make this stuff up, but there is a book that I allegedly wrote, and it was on Amazon. Through some inquiry, it came to my knowledge. It's called The Only Good Race.
There's an edit.
Fuck. Can we back on?
Yeah, just keep going. I'll edit that.
Well, Brittany had stayed with this guy, and he had been manipulating our emails, and I'd wondered why I'd sent her an email, and we were talking sweet to each other, come home, okay, and all of a sudden there'd be anger, and apparently he was manipulating the emails. Now, I don't know if this...
I meant when you have a chance, otherwise I would have just interrupted you.
Oh, okay. Just stay afloat. And I've let a lot of things go, okay? A lot of things go. We got involved in my divorce. My children were taken. I didn't see them again. Brittany, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm just not willing to just let her be disgraced and dishonored, because the truth has to be told, and I'm not going to not tell the truth about that, and I know that they will do the right thing. Now, I can't tell you how upset I was when she was murdered. I have never felt a pain worse than that. She was my best friend, and she was my everything, and maybe that was the problem. She was my everything, I was her everything. And just to know that she wasn't coming home anymore, and all these clients were depending on us now, did we matter? You know? And I guess they figured I would just have a big temper, and I would go and, you know, hurt this guy and forget about what we fought for, and that was the rule of law. And you know, they're not going to disgrace my wife's honor by taking the law into my own hands. I believe in the rule of law, but anyway, she was murdered, and they haven't done anything about it. But last year, she'd gone to New York, and I won't tell the whole story here, but she was raped and had a miscarriage and had a really hard time, and stemming back from abuse from her dad. You can't blame it. And she didn't act like a victim, but she was victimized. And I loved her so much, and I always said she always can come back to me. And I'll tell you what, 95% of the time, nothing was a problem. She was excellent. It was just the pressure, having to pay these sanctions, or having to the threat of going to jail, losing your license just because I'm trying to live my oath of office the best I can alone. I'm not trying to rat people out or cause problems for other attorneys, but I don't apologize for telling the truth. And when it comes to freedom and human life, I couldn't just just not give everything I have and demand to get everything that they would give me. And there are some really good professionals in the industry, but Brittany went to try and get our business going, and we were working on cases, and she was from there, and they were threatening to suspend my license over something really frivolous that, if I were to go into details of, it all stemmed back from this big case that I didn't know I was getting into, and I was very arrogant the way I approached it in the beginning. I didn't know how to, I just thought that that's the way he did it, and I just couldn't believe that happened. I thought they'd believe me, and I wasn't going to back down, and I didn't, and they are innocent. But she was working on those cases, and they wrote this book last year. It says the title of it's called "The Only Good Rapist Is a Dead Rapist," and I had written an email to this guy named Wayne before, because Brittany had no attraction to this guy, and he works for Cisco, and they do the WebEx, and I think the state of Utah probably should be aware the murder suspect is, I don't know if he was the key person who provided the web services for the state, but anyway, he works for Cisco, and he was, I've got some other evidence where he was manipulating emails and asking people how to do it, but he was changing emails and intercepting them and saying different things and trying to get us to argue. But he'd written this, I'd written to him, and I called him a rapist because Brittany said she got drunk and he, forced himself on her or something last summer, and I was upset, naturally, so I wrote an email, and they took the emails that I sent to her and they tried to write a book out of them when I was upset, and he wrote this bizarre book called "The Only Good Rapist Is a Dead Rapist." I guess he assumed it, or someone assumed that I would take the law into my own hands. I wasn't in their head. There's a number of ways they could have taken that, but it sold almost 1 million copies, and it says it's a true story by an attorney named John Cole Cooper. I'm the only attorney named John Cole Cooper in the state of Utah, okay? The only attorney there. And it's on Amazon. I've got all the evidence of that. I haven't confronted them yet. It didn't have the publisher's name on it when I first found it or became aware of it. And some of the papers when I went to New Jersey, her father and the guy Wayne killed her, along with some others that were involved in trafficking from way back, trying to cover this hiding of the inheritance in part, probably. They handed me the papers. I didn't go in, but her other sister did, who was in on trying to keep me away from her. Her other sister felt bad, but the older sister, the one that wanted to steal the inheritance, and the father, they did nothing but wild. They wanted to take the bodies, have her cremated and buried in New Jersey and covered up. And then the officers said, no, who's the next of kin? She's married. Well, none of them were at our wedding. Me and Brittany, in 7 years, her father and sister never went to visit us. She didn't have any relationship with them, but they were also interested. Anyway, they did a GoFundMe account too, and with the GoFundMe, some of my people I know donated money, close to $3,000, and I only ended up with 300 of that. Can't say what happened, but her sister volunteered to help do things, and I said, this is my, I was upset at the father. I had gotten on the phone with him before. I said, you're a pedophile. And I called him on Thanksgiving before, told him he was a piece of shit, and she'd yell at me, and probably the wrong way to handle that. But I was hurting, and she was hurting, and so I blamed him. And I even apologized for that. I won't apologize for what I said, but the way I handled it, but he didn't like me at all, but I don't like him either, but I don't hate him. And I forgive Wayne. I can't hate somebody. This guy that killed, I can't hate somebody. I can only describe it as the worst feeling. I wouldn't wish it on him, and he would be the person that I want him to have a just trial. I want him to have a fair trial. I want the real evidence coming out. They had a funeral where they didn't even tell me about, and they took the money, and I have most of her remains here. Her sister, when we went to New York, took a little bag of the remains and said they just wanted to have a little private, meeting, and they put in the mortuary. Can't even think right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so late. They put in the obituary that she died of a drug overdose, which is completely not true. And I I was outraged, and I called. They took that off of there, and then I found out that they wanted to just bury her body right there in a little place by her brother. And I said no, and they've done some things with money, inheritance, insurance, business, all over money, you know. And I think the truth's going to be coming out here pretty soon, and I don't want to go into. I'm not allowed to talk anymore about the details of that. I know a lot more about it, but it's an ongoing investigation that people have been involved in that really care about her. But I'll probably do some more another day. I had a video earlier I did, and it's February 22nd, 2022, and I'm sure that these videos will get more professional and I'll be less emotional, but it's still really fresh, and I think I'm doing really well, considering that I miss her so bad. And I will not have her name tarnished. I did a special tribute to her on a platform called Clubhouse with my sister, Humanity. That's her name of her room there, and it was called Brittany Annette Cooper Galactic Warrior of Light. I'll put a link on there. We did some songs, and I told more about how we met on there. It's just really hard, and it takes a lot of detail and stuff to tell the story, but it's true, and I think people need to know what happened. I think it's one of the greatest love stories that could be told, but she cared about people, and she was amazing, and I've got letter after letter of professionals who endorsed her to be in the paralegal division, which they don't allow in the state of Utah. Part of what she did in New Jersey that we had her do, before she died, she got her New Jersey Associate Paralegal Association membership. She graduated from Provo College with a paralegal degree, and Brittany had such a hard life, and despite having such a hard life, she never lost her kindness, and she wanted to help people. She could be tough, but boy, was she kind to people, and she was smart. And I'm just grateful that I got to be her husband, and I am going to continue and bring honor to her and bring a voice to people who don't have one. Continue making these videos. If anyone, I sent a notice out in the first video that I'm not going to accept any threats against me for telling the truth. And if you want to call me on anything that I say, I can prove it. I'm not trying to disseminate information or evidence that I have to try and embarrass a system, but over 10 years, and you can imagine when you take someone's, get involved with their children and their wife and their livelihood, and you threaten them, and they have to pay you. When they say you, who are they? Certain individuals. Most people won't do stuff like that, but some criminals do, that pretend like they work for us. Public needs to be careful about who they put in office. And I'm not saying that people can't change. I'm not trying to call people out, but I'm not going to accept being threatened anymore. You don't have to like me, like I said, but I'm going to tell the truth. And I don't want to have to send out the evidence, but if anything happens to me, if I have any more death threats, I've had a couple of them over this last little while. Some of the members of my brothers in special forces have told me to get home a couple of times. They say your life's in danger, you need to go home and stay home. And they show up at different times. I'm really grateful for their protection. They don't advertise it, and I thought I was alone, and I didn't think I needed security, and honestly, it took a great deal of effort to want to be alive anymore because I missed her so bad. But I see that I just see these things can't die with her. People need to know that what's going on in a way that we can work together and get something in place that can be more beneficial to everybody. Because with COVID, with the system, with the way things are going, it's not going to go back to the way it was. It was never intended to, but something needs to be worked out constitutionally, but not at the expense of people's rights and freedoms. So, Brittany's dad wanted to just throw her body in a little box and borrow part of her brother's grave, and part of what he also what he also did is we'll save that story for a little later. I'll just say that, I've got her remains on my desk. Oh, he did at the so-called funeral that he didn't even know her. Not once did he come and visit us. What did he know of her?